What's up, everybody? I'm Brandon Quinn, Sports Talker Brandon, on the Saturday morning. Today, we're going to be talking about Smackdown from last night with one of the biggest stories of the WWE world right now, the Bloodline. I'm going to get into all that at the end because that's a lot to get into, so I'm going to cover all the stuff that's happened in the show. For that, overall, outside of that, this Smackdown was actually pretty decent. Some of the matches went kind of short because we did have the long gauntlet match that they had talked about last week. When all these teams, the Brawling Brutes, the LWO, you had Street Profits, you had Pretty Deadly, you had as well the OC. So we had that gauntlet match to kick off the show. We also had to come up with women's things. I will say most of the show outside the gauntlet match had a lot of short matches. I don't think that's necessarily bad, but I think it's kind of weird because this was a lot of talking, a lot of backstage segments. So this SmackDown is much to be desired if you wanted more wrestling on the show. You got the first 30 or so minutes with the gauntlet match, and then the back half of the show was less wrestling and more talkative than actual in-ring action. But overall, I think the talking segments built stories, so they're trying to do that, which is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. So let's kick this off with that gauntlet match. So we start out with the Street Profits and the Brawling Brutes of Sheamus and Ridge Holland, and they kick off the gauntlet match. This match went pretty quickly, pretty fast. Sheamus hits the bro kick on Angelo Dawkins for the 1-2-3. So the Street Profits are out of the gauntlet match. Next up is the OC. OC gets a good back and forth with the Brawling Brutes. Again, Sheamus hits the bro kick on Gallows for the 1-2-3. You'll see a theme. Basically, the Brawling Brutes goes through this till the end. It is kind of weird to see the Street Profits lose right away, but I think with the Street Profits losing right away, you still build that tension between Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. Montez Ford is in that mix of he probably should have been in the Money in the Bank, but he also faced him against LA Knight, so LA Knight's going to be that Money in the Bank in the qualifier in the Money in the Bank match. So we might see something later where Montez Ford kind of breaks out to be a solo star without breaking the team up. I don't think he breaks the team up at all. The team's too good to keep together. But then we had the Brawling Brutes versus the I forgot one team, Sally. You had the Brawling Brutes against Hit Row. This was the shortest match of the ones. This match took 10 seconds. Basically, bro kick to top dollar, and he's out. This is kind of weird because Hit Row is not really hitting with fans. I don't think as much as they thought. I think the thing with Hit Row, ever since Top Dollar did that top rope dive he not badly missed, it was just a very, he went over and it didn't land right. So he's been getting kind of cheese for that, or Michael Cole does on commentary, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't feel like the Hit Row should be somewhere in the upper end of that card. Other than that, that quick finish was fine. And then we had the LWO versus the Brawling Brutes. LWO gave a little bit of fight. So this was a good back and forth match. Ridge Holland gets worked over for a bit. Ridge Holland gets the hot tag to Sheamus. Sheamus runs wild. Another bro kick, basically, to I think Joaquin Wilde, and they move on to the final matchup in this, which is going to be the Brawling Brutes versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly didn't want to get in the ring right away. They were kind of we're hesitating, so they cut the commercial, come back, we start the match. Pretty Deadly stays on top for a bit, kind of keeps things going. At one point, I love this. I love when he does 10 beats of the Balor. Sheamus has 10 beats of the Balor on both Kit Wilson and Elton Prince, and he does about 30 of them to all these dudes, and Michael Cole says, "I'm out of breath after that." And they keep going. It was fun. Hot tag to Ridge. Ridge goes on a tear. Ridge gets worked over by the Brawling Brutes. Good back and forth for most of the part. Hot tag to Sheamus. Sheamus goes on a little run, but as Sheamus goes on a run, there was a blind tag made by I think Kit Wilson to Elton Prince. Sheamus didn't see it. Sheamus gets hit with this clothesline looking thing. That's the 1-2-3. Pretty Deadly escapes with the win. We go to commercial, come back. They're still in the ring. They're celebrating. As they're talking, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out. Sami Zayn says, you've been out here 5 minutes too long. Why y'all celebrating all this stuff? Y'all haven't won anything yet. And then he looks to KO, and KO's like, aren't you getting annoyed by this? Aren't you like mad about this? And I'm like, I'm trying to calm down. It's been a lot better for you. But yes, they're annoying. They're not great. He's just going off. I love Kevin Owens when he's just having fun, and he's had a lot of fun with this. He's just like this paranoid, like paranoid partner who has all these like gets annoyed by all these small little things, which is really, really good. So Kevin and KO says, I just want to beat them up. Okay, let's go beat up. They run to the ring. Pretty Deadly runs out the ring. They are gone. They go up the ramp. So that match is set for, I think, next week. I think it's next week in London. And so we're going to get that match, which should be fun. I think that's going to be a super fun match. Actually, it's 2 weeks away. So I think it's set for either next week or the week after. I think it's next week because there's a week after we have some stuff going on too. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I think Pretty Deadly is going to lose that pretty easily, but we'll see how they're going to play it off. They'll probably play it off in a way where it's not too decisive where Pretty Deadly loses, but they give him like a strong win. Then we go backstage, and backstage we see Roman kind of seething with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. And so Roman asks Heyman, where is Jay? Have you talked to Jay? And he says, go find Jay. And Paul's kind of looking like, yes, I'll go find him. And he leaves. Then we get the match between Zelina Vega and Io Sky. This match was pretty fun. Zelina Vega's on a really good of a wrestling streak right now. She's not a manager much. She's getting back to wrestling, which I think is amazing. She's one of the best. She does a really good job, a lot of her stuff. And this match is fun. Bayley gets involved. Bayley tries to get involved, but then Bayley gets caught by the ref. The ref stops her, but then Io almost hits her. Then Bayley and Io argue for a bit. As they're arguing, Zelina rolls him up for the 1, 2, 3. She wins. And then they are kind of arguing still. We cut the commercial, come back. We see them arguing backstage, and as they're arguing backstage, Shotzi walks up. Shotzi goes, you cost me on a match to get into the Money in the Bank. So why don't you put up your spot in Money in the Bank, Bayley, and whoever, if I win, I get it. And Bayley starts laughing. Bayley's just kind of like, why would I do that? I have no reason to do that. You're not on our level, all that kind of stuff. Io accepts on behalf of Bayley. So that's the thing, tension between the two, because Bayley's been kind of like putting Io in matches. Io does it on the reverse. So this is really good. I think Io's going to be face. I think Bayley's going to be more heel, stay heel. This is actually really good. I think Shotzi's a really good character too. I actually appreciate the fact that here's probably what's going to happen. There's still one spot missing for the women's Money in the Bank. We don't know who that's going to be yet because they haven't announced it. I think Bayley still gets in through that last chance qualifying match, whatever that will be, and then she gets the opportunity to face whoever at that point. Then we have another backstage segment. We see Cameron Grimes getting interviewed. Or not Cameron Grimes. We don't see Cameron Grimes. We actually see the Grayson Waller set getting set up first, and then they cut the commercial, come back, they introduce Grayson Waller and his talk show, The Grayson Waller Effect. Charlotte comes on the show. I don't know what you're doing with Grayson Waller. He's actually a pretty decent wrestler. I don't really like talk shows on wrestling shows that much. It's like Miz TV. Miz TV can be good or bad. Charlotte here was pretty good, and then Grayson was okay. Grayson kind of did his thing and always did his thing. Bianca interrupts. Bianca pretty much says, you know what? You took my title shot. You left, came back, you ran away. And Bianca just pretty much says, well, I'm the front of the line. I'm the front. Show us I'm the front and the end of the line. So I can do whatever I want. I have that pedigree. But then Bianca goes back and says, I'm the longest reigning women's champion of the modern era. I've done it in less reigns than you. And it's just kind of like Bianca's saying everything that makes sense. Here's the thing. I think they're trying to turn Bianca heel. The weird thing is the crowd was still chanting EST at during this segment, which kind of was like the fans are still into her. So I don't know if the heel turn is going to work. I kind of think you need to let this boil over. And she even says, Bianca says, I'm going to be at y'all match. And when we are in London, sitting ringside, whoever wins, I'm going to challenge for the belt. So basically, I think she cost Charlotte the match. Asuka retains, and we have a Charlotte Bianca feud to go into the summer. Asuka keeps the belt for a bit. I think you have Io face Asuka, which I would love to see, by the way. I think Io versus Asuka would be amazing for the belt. And then we go back around to having the belt and get Charlotte, because Charlotte don't need the belt right away. But also, it doesn't really make sense to have Asuka with a short title reign either. So we'll see that. The other big thing I'm looking forward to, if they turn Bianca heel, I think you need to be very careful, because it reminds me of when they tried to turn Becky heel and the fans still cheered Becky as a heel. So it didn't really work out. And also, a lot of people don't think Charlotte's great as a face. I think she's more tweener than a face, but we'll get into that. So then we have that segment. We go from that segment to a backstage segment where we see Cameron Grimes getting interviewed, but as he's trying to get interviewed, Karen Corbin just beats him up, throws him, hits him together, beats him up, he leaves. So they're gonna have a fight next week or in the next couple weeks. Then the other thing we get from this, so then we get Paul Heyman going to talk to Jay. Jay says, Paul Heyman says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do what I did. I do apologize. And Jay says, I'm sorry, but then Jay goes, if I'm in the bloodline, you're out. And Jay walks off. So it's still saying the attention of like, Jay don't like Paul Heyman. Jay think Paul Heyman's a slipping like a snake, basically, and it's not worth that for him. So there's still tension there. Then we get another really good match between Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Scarlett's first time wrestling on the main roster in a while. I think she wrestled early in 2016, but this is the first time we've seen her in a while. Versus Michin and AJ Styles. This match was fun. Basically, good back and forth match. One point, AJ hits. AJ gets distracted by Scarlett. Then Michin stops that. Then Michin hits Karrion Kross with with like a DDT or something. She hits it with like a arm drag or something. So that was good, like back and forth interplay. Finally, Karrion Kross hits all his moves back to back, basically, to beat AJ for the 1-2-3. So they win the match. It's kind of weird because I don't think Scarlett and Karrion Kross is that great. I think Scarlett and Karrion Kross are kind of interesting because Scarlett is more of the like controlling factor of Kross, but she's not controlling Kross in a sense. Like she's like this like mystical presence. But I think the thing is, this is the first time we've seen Scarlett wrestle in a while, and Scarlett wrestling is she's pretty good. She's really good as a wrestler, so I don't think it's really that weird. But I think it's also kind of like you haven't really built Kross up to give him something kind of like strong and really sink his teeth into, because I don't think people are really into the Kross character. So I think what we see next, I think we either see a singles match again or something else on the road. We'll see. Not the weirdest thing I would be surprised by if they do a singles match between him and AJ again down the road, because we already seen it once. We can see it again for something else. But then after this, we get one more backstage thing where we get one more backstage thing where we see Adam Pearce in his office. Pearce is on the phone. Bianca. So prior to the night, earlier in the night, Bianca was talking to Pearce, and he says, you're going to let her do that, so I'm going to handle it my own way. So that's where we see the Grayson Waller effect. So that was earlier in the night. I forgot to mention it. But it was like, she said, I'm going to handle it my own way, which is kind of like saying, I'm going to handle, you didn't handle it, so I'm going to handle it. And he told her not to, and she goes out anyway. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. If they do the heel thing that they're going to do, I think the big thing with that is she's handling she thought she handled it the right way. She was going to be patient, but then everything kind of fell apart. So she has a justified reason to handle it herself. Then we get Ray coming out to cut a promo. Ray introduces Santos Escobar. Escobar thanks Ray for everything he's done, all this stuff. LA Knight comes out. LA Knight and Escobar are having a match. the LA Knight cheap shots Ray Escobar and LA Knight have a match. This match was actually pretty fun. Ultimately, this match was a good back and forth. Short match, by the way, very short match overall. Maybe about it might have went like 7 minutes or so. Ending up, LA Knight tries to cheat. Escobar reversed it for the 1-2-3, so he wins clean. He wins. LA Knight loses clean, which I think it's going to end up being LA Knight might win the briefcase. We don't know. We'll see how that goes overall. Then we get the last little backstage segment with Jay. Jay's walking to the ring at this point, and he walks past Sami Zayn. They look at each other. I love this. Sami doesn't say a thing. Sami just looks at him, gets up, and walks away. And then Jay keeps walking. So we get to the main event. This segment, I implore you to go watch it. This was actually really, really well done. So Heyman, Roman, and Solo come out. Heyman's carrying the two other belts. Roman has the new belt around his waist. I kind of think it's kind of weird that Heyman's still carrying the two other belts, which makes no sense because you put the belts together. All right then, but I'm guessing whoever's going to beat Roman will only carry the one, and the other two will be retired. Fine. Still just like a weird visual. So Roman comes out. Roman tells the crowd to acknowledge him. He tells like some Kentucky to acknowledge him. So they cheer for him, and then Roman pretty much says, I think he says like he didn't get a word in. He gets like one. He says he tries to say one other word. Jay music hits. Jay comes out. Jay grabs the mic, stands there for a bit, and Roman says, "Hey, I'm trying to groom him to be the next tribal chief, and he's my wise man. You can't kick him out. He's done stuff for me, but when you're become tribal chief, you can have your own wise man and all that kind of stuff. And it's your brother that's made this a problem. Not your brother was at fault for this. Your brother was trying to hold you down. And then as that's happening, you hear the crowd cheering. We don't see this yet, and it's actually Jimmy comes out. When Jimmy comes out, Jimmy kind of gets in the ring, looks at his brother, doesn't really say much at first, but Jimmy finally says, "You believe in this? Do you believe what he's saying? He manipulated you. He did these things to make you fall in line." And then Jimmy says to Jay, look at me. Do you really think he cares about anything? And then Jay finally says, "Is it true?" And Jimmy's like, "What's true? Like, what's true? Is it true that you held me down?" Jimmy kind of looks away, and then he doesn't really say anything. And Jay asks him again, "Is it true?" And Jimmy says, "Yes." And Jimmy finally says, "Yes, I didn't want you. I held you down." And Roman in the background is just laughing. Paul Heyman is fine, just smiling in the background. All this stuff. And then finally Jay goes, "You know what?" He's like, "I'm out." And Heyman and them are all smiling. Then he thinks they're back in the one line. But if I'm out, we're out together. And then when he says that, they both super kick Roman. Roman takes it like he sells it perfectly, by the way. He's kind of dazed, confused. Solo comes try to attack, super kicks both of them. Ends up, Paul gets out the ring, kind of looks like confused, like what the world's going on? Why are they super kicking? So all this is played so well. Roman tries to get up again. They both super kick him again, and then leaves him laying. They leave the ring. They go up the ramp, and the ending shot is just Roman just on the ground looking at both of them like, why? Why'd you do this? Why? What's the purpose of doing this? And they finally leave. So the end of the show is just seeing Roman's face and just seeing him so like mad that his own cousin turned on him. I love the way they did this. This was 15 minutes left in the show, by the way, so I don't know how fast. They only had a little bit of time left. I don't know how they're going to get through it all, but they did, and it was really well done. I'm glad that we're getting the story finally of them breaking up the one line. I don't know where you go from here because I want to see one or two things, and it's two simple things. Either Jay gets the belt off for Roman at SummerSlam, which I think they're fast tracking this because I think they wanted to go to WrestleMania, but I don't think they can now because I think there's something either Roman's doing later with like movies and stuff, or it's a thing where they can't just rush. They're not trying to rush the story. But I'm invested. I am very invested to see where this goes because I think it's a very well told story. Either you have Jay win the belt, or my other thing is Solo still with Roman. I think Solo leaves Roman eventually. If that happens, I think you can have Solo win the belt too, but you have to do that. You can still do that in a way. So then I think the big thing is it finally happened. It was really well told, and everything makes sense. But I think the one thing I'm going to be interested in is blood is thicker than water, but blood is thicker than other blood. Basically, he is more aligned with his brother because they're twins than he is with Roman, and I think that works out better. I love all this. I'm invested in all this. I can't wait to see more. I'm looking for next week's SmackDown. Next week's SmackDown is gonna be really good. Basically, you have this story on SmackDown, but you also have the other story on Raw, which I'm really interested to. It's Chad Gable, Otis, and Maxine Dupree, who that's been just fun. So I think you have really interesting stories going on, and I think all these stories are kind of building up. If you give me either Roman Roman and Solo versus Jimmy and Jay at Man in the Bank, that leads to Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam. Oh yeah, that'll be fun. But ultimately, looking forward to all this. I'm smiling, grinning through and through. I hope y'all go get a chance to check out SmackDown. If you watch anything from SmackDown, the Gauntlet match and the sending set, all the bloodline stuff at the end. That's the two things you should be watching, hands down. But yeah, that's my SmackDown review. I would end up giving the show a 4 out of 5. I think it bumped up a little more because of the bloodline stuff. The other stuff is kind of on the low end of that totem pole, but overall, still a great SmackDown. I would not say it was bad. I think the matches in the middle didn't do much. The beginning, and the end were great. The middle was kind of a lot of talking, a lot of stuff that didn't really make sense. But overall, still give it high marks. I will be back on Monday to do the Tuesday morning to do the Raw review, and then Tuesday night we're on episode 9 of the Anime Dojo with Chris. We're watching Hell's Paradise episode 11 and Demon Slayer, the final episode, which is going to be an hour long, which comes out tomorrow. We're going to review both those episodes. We're going to continue the series, by the way, of Anime Dojo because we're loving it so much. We're having so much fun. We just want to do more. We're going to find summer animes to watch and review those. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoy that. But this was SmackDown. This was Friday Night SmackDown. I hope you did enjoy, and I hope you from next time. See ya.